So Peter was released. Light broke. And now it's time for retribution. We're going to discover today that God said, "Vengeance is mine." It's wonderful to have you here. I'm Pastor John from Living Stones and Sunland, Tujunga Seventh-day Adventist Churches, and it is time for the call to prayer. Good evening, my friends. I'm so glad to be here with you. And we're discovering another part of the story from Acts as Peter, if you'll remember, James, the brother of John, one of the sons of Zebedee, was killed by Herod Agrippa. And then Peter was put in prison. But miraculously, an angel let him out. And he actually got him to the street and then disappeared. Amazingly, he got all the way to Mary, the mother of John's house. And when Peter got there, he knocked on the outside gate, and this young lady came to discover who this was. And as she answered the door, she found out it was Peter. She locked him out. If you remember last week, she was so surprised she locked him out. Just closed the door. You know, it's like, wow, wonderful. It's nice to see you. Smack. Maybe even she thought it was a ghost. Who knows? Actually, she started to tell, though, people inside the house that Peter was released or he was out there. And they said, well, where is he? And she said, well, he's outside. Well, maybe it's just an angel. And they found him. They praised God that he had been released. At the same time, Herod Agrippa sent envoy to Tyre and Sidon, a district just to the north of present-day Israel, where you'd find Lebanon, area of Lebanon and Syria today. In Acts chapter 12, verse 19, it looks like he went to Caesarea Maritime and stayed there. And he was in this big argument between Tyre and Sidon. They were there to, or should I say Herod was there to make sure they had food so that they could protect the northern part of the country. And they were all in this big argument. And so then he came along and decided to work out a deal with them. Let's read together. On the appointed day, this is in verse 21. On the appointed day, Herod, wearing his royal robes, he sat on his throne and delivered a public address to the people. They shouted, "This is the voice of God and not of man." Now, let's stop there real quick. Basically, Tyre and Sidon got their food from Herod and from the kingdom down south. So, what they were doing is normal political work. They are able to get food in their mouths by calling him a god. Many kings, many presidents, many different people love to be called more than what they are. No one wants to feel like they're not good, especially if they're doing things against those who they think are wrong. Christians or those who followed the way were being killed and put in prison by this very Herod. So of course he's going to have a strong chest right now. After all, if he's doing something wrong, it's much better if you're boldly doing it. In Hebrew, that's called in the Old Testament, that is called high-handed sin. Sin is something we do that's wrong. And when we make a mistake and an error, we say, "I'm sorry." God forgives all kinds of wickedness and sin. But high-handed sin, and it's literally in the Hebrew, high-handed sin. It's sin that you lift up your hand and show everyone you're doing it while you do it. It's kind of like, have you ever had a child that's young and they're not supposed to do something, and that when they start doing it, they look right at you while they're doing it? That's when you got like, wait a minute. This person knows it's wrong and yet they still do it, and they have the boldness to look me in the eye. That is called high-handed sin. We all have issues with that. And so did Herod. Herod was killing prophets from Israel, those who carried a message from God to the community and to the world. And then he negotiates some kind of trade deal, which always, of course, benefits him. And these people up in Tyre and Sidon, they don't follow God. They're like, you're a god. You're a god. Whoever gives you food is your god. Kind of reminds me of society today. We all succumb to those who like to give us lots of money. Our federal government loves to give out lots of money. And they demand something in return. Control. Herod was no different. As it says in verse 21, on the appointed day, Herod wearing his royal robes. Ooh, very important. He gave his speech, and they said, "Is this not the voice of a God, but not a man?" He loved it. Verse 22, immediately, because Herod did not give praise to God, an angel of the Lord struck him down, and he was eaten by worms and died. That's one of those, it's like, wow, in the Bible, what? But the word of God continued to spread and flourish. Now, we know from archaeological evidence that Herod Agrippa used to enjoy, as well as his father Herod the Great, used to enjoy great delicacies, including flamingo tongues. How exciting is that? Flamingo tongues. Imagine a plate with a whole bunch of small tongues on it. Ooh, yummy flamingo tongues. My friends, what we sow, we reap. Worms ate him from the inside out. In Deuteronomy chapter 32, I believe it is. Deuteronomy 32, God has a message to Moses that are to be given to Israel. Let's read here. Verse 34. I have kept this in reserve and sealed it in my vaults. It is mine to avenge. I will repay. In due time their foot will slip. Their day of disaster will be near, and their doom rushes upon them. The Lord will vindicate his people and relent concerning his servants, though their strength is gone. Let me stop right there. The message that God has for us is no matter what happens, no matter how evil society is, no matter what leaders do and how they wish to be in charge, God has his day. He will avenge. It is not up to us to avenge, to destroy, to tear down. It is up to me to uproot bad doctrines and bad thinking, to be able to be a prophet, so to say this is wrong according to the Bible, but I shall not lift my hand against a person of evil. For God himself will avenge. The reason why the verse in Acts says that God's work moved forward is because the writer, Luke, was referring back to Deuteronomy. He said, Herod was eaten by worms as an angel of the Lord struck him, and the work of God moved forward. My friends, do not be afraid. Do not be dismayed. Continue to do what you must for God. Do your best with what God has given you. And though they try to take away your life, your purpose, your freedom, never, ever doubt God will have his day. Perhaps it is a time for you and me to tell the world through our actions that there are people that will follow him no matter what. No matter what. Though the heavens fall, though he slay me, yet shall I trust him. Yes. Yes. You can trust him. He will protect. And by the way, because James died and Peter was released from prison and Herod died by the hand of the Lord, it is that which put all of Israel in awe again. And again, early Christianity grew incredibly. We see that as it exploded beyond the borders of Israel. Thank you so much for being a part of this. In a few moments, there will be intercession. Intercession happening at 7:15 this evening. And remember, smash that like button. Share away. Let it go, man. Send this thing out far and wide, whether you're on Facebook or YouTube. And remember, you have a church, or should I say you have a set of churches that worship right now together, but we are here for you. We are praying for many people that are not even connected with us. Now you be a part of this intercession. I'll see you in a few moments. May God bless you and have a wonderful evening. Goodbye.